Good morning, guys. Welcome. Good morning or afternoon, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining in. And yeah, I'm glad you guys are here. So thank you. We'll give it a few more minutes, let a few more people join. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you're at. This holiday weekend that doesn't feel like a holiday. I don't know about you guys, but our kids didn't have quote unquote school today. I don't know what that really means other than the teachers all said, hey, make sure they take the day off, which I think that's more punishment and like anything on us. At least if they're doing some schoolwork, we can kind of like, they're kind of occupied at least for a little while. But now they're kind of like asking, well, what can I do? Can I do this? Can I do that? Oh, it's annoying. But anyways, I will not go down that path. It's all good. It could be worse somehow, some way. It could be worse. And so, yeah, we're here. We're going to have a great day. I'm excited to dig into these next two chapters. And, you know, we got a couple weeks left. And I imagine you guys have gone through, hopefully you guys have gotten through the book. And, you know, this is just kind of review. But if you're reading along with us, you're joining along with us, that's fine. That's great. Whatever fits for you. And I again, my hope in this is that it's bringing you guys value. A big part of this for me is like I've selfishly said from the very beginning, it is forcing me to learn more. It's forcing me to dig deeper. So that is a virtue for me, a benefit for me. And again, I'm sorry if I'm making that too selfish, but I'm going to state it. And I think we're all better because of that. But so again, today, just to let you guys know, if you weren't with us last week, if you watched the video, great, awesome, exciting. But I'll be going for, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes, something like that, give or take. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then end up, open it up to you guys. Would love to know kind of, you know, here we are, more than halfway through the book by the end of today. And what you guys are again, how you're seeing this play out. You know, I know a few people have shared last week and that, you know, they're starting to see and recognize vision popping up in different spots. They're starting to see themselves in regard to, you know, how they're viewing vision, how they're viewing the opportunity to share, be involved with others, and really starting to put it together. So we'll get into all that. If you guys are just joining in, this is what we're going to do. I would love you to throw in the chat before I get started this week, any questions, so we can kind of come back, reference. If the question pops up, man, just put it over there. If there was an aha, put it over there. Let's see that, because I think as well as one of us maybe has an aha, a lot of us have an aha. And I think that's exciting because it kind of spurs along some good thoughts. And I hope, again, like I said, that you guys have gotten value out of this. I would love nothing more than for you guys to say, yeah, that it really kind of, it forced me into an area where I maybe hadn't thought much about or maybe hadn't thought about in a while. And so that's one of the benefits, right? Okay. 3 minutes after, if they're not here yet, they'll hop in and join us. Thank you guys for being on time. So we're going to get going. And question number 5, chapter number 5, does it inspire? And thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that. If you did it right, failure becomes growth. That's good. Good. Love that. Okay. So does it inspire? I think this is, you know, kind of a recap of a lot of the previous 4 chapters. When you talk about vision, it's like, why do you have a vision? It's not only to understand what's propelling you forward, but a big part of that is, as we get into in these 2 chapters, is to call other people to what you're doing. Call other people into the arena per se, call other people to follow you, call other people into something maybe bigger that they hadn't envisioned for themselves. And, you know, as we talk about this, he starts off, and one of the first topics that really hits me is your vision must be powerful enough to motivate yourself and others to take action. You know, you got to have such a vision that it not only kind of makes you as like, oh, I can't skirt through the day and make that happen. I can't get up, roll out of bed, grab my cup of coffee, do whatever I'm going to do, and my vision just happens. It's going to take more of me. It's going to take more action in me. And that's where, again, I think it's that vision has to inspire, because it's got to inspire you before it can inspire others. And here's something that I'm really kind of, I guess, in my soul kind of beats is like, I don't need a lot of motivation. I just don't. I'm not a rah person. I am not. Now I can get fired up, but I'm not someone that goes around and I need to find authors. I need to, go listen to music. I don't need that. And I've shared that with you guys, but yet I also know that I have to have a vision. I have to have, here's what, totally off topic, totally tangent, time out. I need progress. This week was, there were days that I found myself a little frustrated. It was kind of a schedule. I don't know, it was built up, whatever was built up. I had a lot of stuff going on and felt like I was spinning my wheels, not getting anywhere. And kind of my learning and growing and maybe it's vision, I don't know, going through this stuff. And I was a little frustrated. And so I contemplated and I thought about that. And I told Kelly, I was like, I need to see progress. I think one of the great things about, sometimes doing things with your hands, doing something physical, and I can, hey, I'm going to throw it out. You could cross stitch. Okay. I don't know of any cross stitchers. I've never cross stitched a day in my life, but I'm going to be able to empathize with you and say, maybe cross stitch. And you see that, you say spend an hour, just kind of, you're doing it. And then you look down and you're like, oh, look at the progress. And part of me, that's what inspires me. And so as I realized this vision of transformation that I shared with you guys last week is so amazing to me, it's that ability to share a vision that motivates yourself and others. And for me, part of that motivating me is something that sees progress, that moves forward, that makes it better. Okay, totally off tangent, off topic, tangent to it, but I thought maybe that was pertinent and relevant. But one of the things that, as we kind of move forward here is, and I think this is what I just shared. It's got to inspire, include your, it's got to connect with your heart, your passion, your mind, your creativity. And, if you fail to inspire people, your vision's going to fall apart. Now, let me ask you guys, have you guys ever done anything and maybe, people that checked out of this group, maybe they're not as involved as once were, maybe this just didn't inspire them. Maybe I'll take a little ownership there. Maybe I inspire them enough to say, hey, what we're going to do together is going to help you. I'll take ownership there because they expired. And I think if we stop and think about times in life where it all of a sudden expires, it no longer happens. You're just like not excited about it. Well, that inspiration, that vision, that something else has been lost. And let's look at the 4 characteristics here in chapter 5 that Michael kind of, and I'm just going to quick hit these. Number 1 is what isn't is more important than not what is. He uses the Uber example, and I think this is so telling and so interesting from a standpoint of, we talk a lot about in these couple chapters, strategy, right? That's what these chapters are about. The strategy, you get stuck on the how rather than stay on the what of the vision, or do you start to all of a sudden put strategy together? I'll give you a personal example here. And sometimes it isn't necessarily tied into this, what isn't compared to what is Kelly and I will share things and she'll see a vision and I'm quick to be strategic, how to make that happen. And I think sometimes that flips around as I can have a vision and I'm willing to just say, hey, we'll get there however we get there. And I need to be more adept in trying to share that with Kelly. And so that's some of our difficulty. But for me, I'm real quick to see how the different avenues and understand in my mind, though. And again, we'll get into this. I'm jumping ahead chapter. The next chapter is all roads can get there. I heard this yesterday from a mentor is any good idea doesn't matter until you make the first step. And part of that is being willing to make the first step and being able to figure it out along your way. Okay, so what isn't compared to what is focus on what is. If you focus on what is, you lose all sense of what possibilities could be. But if you say, oh, this isn't that, this isn't going to be that, we're going to look at what it isn't in your business, whatever that may be. If you're, whichever avenue, a lot of in network marketing to real estate to other businesses, whatever, is if you think about, all right, my vision is so it isn't like everything else I see. And you start to frame in what I want it to be, why you want this different, why it called you, why it inspired you, because it's either because of someone did something so dramatic and you can latch onto that and you can be a part of it, but that separates from everything else. And that's why you joined in. Or you can say, I don't like the rest of that. It's not going to be like that. And it frames in the possibility of what is. The next part of the 4 characteristics of inspiration is it's bigger. It's not incremental. It's exponential. It kind of goes back to that comment I made a couple minutes ago that, if you roll out of bed and it can just happen, that's incremental. That doesn't get you excited, right? If that gets you excited, then good for you. If getting up out of bed in the morning is the key to your day, is exciting, and the rest of your day is set in motion, God bless you. I get out of bed and it's like, what am I going to accomplish? And that progress, what am I going to see happen? And a lot of that is just hearing some of the comments and people that, I get to share messages. And what's fun for me is I get to share some of the things that, inspire me, that I share with others. And I get to share that back with my mentor. And I did earlier this week. And he goes, that's why I keep pouring into you, is because you're going and doing something with this. And I love to see that, because I love to see the progress in others and they accomplish things. And what's fun for me is to go back to my mentors, and what they're saying is, well, that's fun for them. And so it's this thing that keeps going, because that's part of that inspiration. It's exponential. It's something bigger. It's not just small, whatever I can accomplish. Because I've realized, I don't know when I realized this, but at some point I realized that if it's just me, dude, you can't do much. There's topics all over the place today. I heard earlier this week the lesson that hopefully some of the rest of you have learned is that you can accomplish more in 10 years than you think, but you are likely to accomplish less in a day. So let me reframe that, because I just butchered that all together. Just bear with me. If we set out to accomplish something, we will be in a different place a year from now if we just make small incremental. So we think we can accomplish way more in a day than what we allow ourselves to accomplish over a year. I think back, okay, where was I a year ago? And things that have been accomplished, like, wow. I think, just the other day, I shared with many people, it was our 9-year anniversary being involved in Isagenix. I can't believe how far we've come. And so I can look forward and know is like, if I'm willing to commit to be better tomorrow than I was today at the same rate over the next 9 years, what's 9 years from now going to look like? And that's where we can, underestimate what we can accomplish in the long term, and we can overestimate what we can accomplish in the short term. But yet all of that is magnified if we have a big inspiration to accomplish a lot. And even if we don't accomplish what we think in 10 years, if we stay consistent with it, we might actually accomplish more. And I think that's what this number 3 characteristic of exponential compared to incremental, and the people that come around and become a part of it. Chapter 6, we'll talk about that in regards to, is it practical and who's involved? To me, that's what makes it exciting, because it explodes. It goes, faster. Okay. Number 4, it's risky, not stupid. Okay. There's a teaching that I had at one point. It was called KISS. Have you guys ever heard the KISS principle? Keep it simple, stupid. Okay. Stupid is, the whole idea with keep it simple is don't be stupid. Don't try to make it more complicated, but yet being willing to take risks. And I just boiled this down to the 3 things. And stupid is if you're likely to fail. Stupid is if your team or people around you don't believe in it. I may want to believe in it. Guess what? It's all on you, and that's not going to work. And number 3, it puts your mission at risk. It's like, oh, I'm going to go here. Let's just give an example. It's like tomorrow I decide that I am going to go start a dairy farm. Okay. That may be a little weird to some of you, but I grew up with cows. I actually thought about that at one point. And I actually owned enough cows that I could do that. And I was like, I'm going to put them on a farm. I'm going to, create a brand. I'm going to do all that. And then I stopped and realized, like, I don't want to do that. That's just stupid. That's not risky. Now, what was risky instead was take the amount of time and money into invest into growing our network marketing business or growing ourselves, because that was risky because we invested money and it didn't pay back, but at least it was an investment towards something bigger, leveraged, other than, hey, I'm just going to own a dairy farm. And my wife wouldn't have been happy with either. I mean, she wasn't happy, but that's, you got to make your wife happy. All right. Number 4 here, the key characteristics as we talk about inspiration is it's what, not how. I got a lot of notes for this one. And I think what's interesting is it's kind of funny is it's about what is rather than how. What is more important, and it's kind of like this, if you're stuck in the how, you just get stuck in the weeds. You get, absolutely just kind of like bogged down. I mean, I'm a what person. Well, the how we'll figure it out. I'm going to share a story. This is a good story. All right. So my oldest son, soccer player, and I gave him some goals. I said, if he could juggle a soccer ball and if he could do that, I would pay him incremental goals. And Kelly was just like, I can't believe you paid him that much. I'm like, I can't believe he did it, but it's great he did it. And so he ended up making $850 to reach these goals. And he comes to me the other day and he said, Dad, I really want to buy a full-size soccer goal to shoot on. It's like, okay. And so we talked about, either building one. I'm like, well, let's just look and see what size aluminum we need to build it. And we found one to buy. And so he's like, I want to buy it. It's like, all right, you buy it. I'll pay a portion of it. So he took of his $850, he put $750 into buying this goal. I paid the rest of it. We get it. It comes yesterday. He puts the whole thing together because I had different meetings and appointments or whatever. And then yesterday afternoon, he's like, hey, we're missing a part. And so the what is he wanted a goal. The how was how it's going to be all the pieces and parts together. The what is like he really wanted to shoot on his goal and he wanted to accomplish this. The how was we were missing a part, and how are we going to make that happen? And so my brain was like, well, we'll figure it out. We can go buy that piece of pipe because this goal got shipped from Great Britain. I don't know why, but just did. So it's kind of hard to go find the pipe. So we find the pipe. We get it all worked out. And there's a part of me as I'm explaining this to him is like, it doesn't matter how you get there. It just matters that you get the job done. So we fashion this piece of pipe. We end up, I grew up on a dairy farm. You can figure it out. And so we are using the drill press. We're using a saw to cut it and everything. And we make it work. And you could just see him. He's exciting because he was so disappointed earlier in the day that we were missing this piece and then we'd have to possibly get it ordered, end up getting a piece of pipe and putting it together. And the what was putting the goal together. The how was we were going to get it done. We're going to figure it out and the goal's put together and now I can shoot on. And that's an example of if you get stuck on the how, you'll never see your what. If we were stuck on how that goal was going to be put together, then it wouldn't have happened yet. We're like, no, we'll fix it. We'll find a way. We'll find that. We'll let that how be. And this ties into the whole next chapter. Is it practical? Was it practical for me to sit there and I'm totally jumping ahead a lot of notes, but we'll get into good stuff now, because I'm using a life example and everything in life is played out in some story. Because I imagine there is some place in your life that there was a what that got overcome because you were stuck on the how. Well, it has to be this way. The only way is this, because either that's the directions, that's how everyone else has done it. And I'm thinking now of the funny story. And you guys maybe heard this story. There's a lady. and it's Easter time. And, she's got her mother there, the grandmother's there, her daughter's there, and she's baking this ham. Easter ham, right? Okay, you have hams. And, she's having, her daughter's helping her, and, they get out the ham and they start to put the ham in the pot. And Mom's like, no, you got to cut off the ends of the ham. So their daughter's like, why? And she's like, well, that's just the way it's done. That's the way my mom did it. And so the daughter, the youngest, asks the grandmother, and it's like, well, Grandma, why'd you cut off the ends of the ham? She's like, well, because that's what my mother did. Well, her mother, the grandmother, was out in the living room, and she was sitting on a chair, and she was cross-stitching, right? And get back to that. She was cross-stitching. And so the daughter goes out to ask the great-grandmother and asked her, Great-grandma, why did you always cut off the ends of the ham? She goes, oh, darling, because I had a real small pot and it would only fit in the real small pan, so I had to cut off the ends of it. It was stuck on the how rather than the what. And how often do we use that, to use that word again, get stuck on the how and forget about the what? And as we talk about, in whether it's having the vision script, the annual plan, the quarter plans, all these things in chapter 6, and it boils down to, don't get so stuck on the how that it is a train wreck that you can't see the opportunities for your vision. But at the same point, you need to be crystal clear in your vision and your what. So that way other people can say, oh, okay, how we get there doesn't matter, but that's where we're going. I've used maybe the adage before, if you're going on a cross country, we talked about it driving to New Brunswick, right? You guys heard about that. And being stuck so on a route, it's like, no, you change that route wherever it goes. Know where you're going to go. And that's where I got again out of this is, vision is where you're going. Strategy is the path you're going to get there. We're going to make a ham for Easter for a meal. How we're going to do it is we're going to put it in a pot. Well, if it fits, it fits. Let's go. If it doesn't fit, let's cut off the ends and we'll make it work. It's to start with the vision and then work backwards. It's like, we're going to make a ham. We're going to bring that ham, and that ham doesn't fit. And so did the grandmother say to her family, I'm sorry, I can't make you lunch today. I can't make dinner because it doesn't fit. She's like, no, slice off the ends. Let's go. And that's what happens in life. And if we get so stuck on the how, and there's only one way, we miss out completely amazing opportunities. And it's just saying, okay, what can we do to fix this? All right, well, let me get back on, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit. We'll go through, let me just look at my notes here. See what I missed. See if I missed anything. Because I really got off topic. I need to look over these notes to make sure. But hopefully that was good. I mean, hopefully you guys that kind of like really stuck in. And vision script is the tool to change Oh, I like this. Okay. In chapter 5, at the very end of it, it said, vision script is the tool to change the tired, discouraging story as many people are living. Wow. How important is that? You think about what your vision is. Your vision is to change their story, to help them change the story. And today, being a hope dealer, being someone with an opportunity, I shared this quote this morning on Facebook Live. Some of you may have seen it. If you guys didn't see it, you're not part of that. That's fine. I'm going to share it right here. Is the worst can bring out the best in you, or it can get the best of you. It's your choice. As we talk about this from a vision point of view, it's like, don't let the worst, whatever happens, part of that how, get the best of you. Set that vision up to something to change, to set others on that path. Okay. Let me see where we end up here. Hiring to your vision. Hiring, recruiting. We're going to talk about this real quick. Spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about this, and then we'll kind of get into, would love for you guys to kind of give me some feedback. I want to hear from you because I've rattled on enough time, and I want to learn from you, and I hope you guys all learn from each other. So hiring to your vision, recruiting is, as he talked about, it's about meaning and purpose. One of the best things that network marketing has taught me, one of the best things about it all is part of this vision, but it's also finding a place that you fit in. Finding a place where other people maybe have the same interests, desires, passions. And then all of a sudden, when you find that meaning, when you find that purpose of your life, that, the two best days of your life, the day that you were born, the day you figure out why, part of that purpose, that meaning, call people into that. Your vision is to call people into that opportunity to not only find out their own, but to be a part of something bigger than them. He talks about the generational stuff and how different generations fit differently. And that's something that I think today more people want to be involved in. And I see that great opportunity in what we've been involved in, network marketing. And I heard this quote earlier this week, and I think it's paramount here when it's recruiting, is recruit for attitude, recruit for values, recruit for people that have a desire for something along what you wanted and not necessarily what their skills are. You think, oh, okay, they can fit this niche role, but they have a bad attitude. Their values don't match. All of a sudden you're like, you can't, it's hard to fix that stuff. It's hard to fix that stuff. And so it's kind of like, you can change someone's attitude, you can change some of that, there's lessons. And it's like, you got to find people that have the right values. And even if they're saying in a bad place and they have the values and they have the attitude, but they want an attitude, something bigger, you can help them grow there. But yet you're not going to, it's kind of like the idea is, a tiger doesn't change their stripes. Well, sometimes you got to shave off the hair and look below and say, oh, that wasn't a zebra. Because I don't know if you know about this, about zebras, but zebras have, white and black skin, their skin, you shave off their hair and the skin below it's the same. But you can have a horse that it's not a zebra and you shave that off and it looks like a zebra, it's striped, you shave that off and it regrows and it's completely different. And I think that's where part of this is somebody can be in such an arena, a place in life that it gets them down, but yet their values are, I want different. They just don't know what it is, and giving them that opportunity, calling them to something bigger, because that's what your vision is. Ultimately, your vision will help people fit out. They will exclude themselves. I was kind of asked to give some feedback earlier this morning, and they were talking about how do you qualify people? And well, we qualify people by saying, this is who we are, this is what we do. And if that fits for you, great. If it doesn't, no problem. There's somebody else for you. And being strong enough in that, in where I see people in all businesses, I don't care what it is, when they're desperate. When they're desperate, feeling like I got to find someone, I have to either recruit someone to fill this spot. I'm recruiting anyone and anyhow. You get into more trouble, in my experience, you get into more trouble than if you say, hey, here are our values. Here's what we're going to hold on to. And the people that fit, and the people that don't, I love you. God bless you. Move on. All right. Last thing, and this was stress, and I hope you guys, recognize this too, is you can't overshare your vision. The number one problem, and as he alluded to, and I think is right too, is when you don't share your vision enough, thinking that people just have it. When you feel like you are sick of telling people what your vision is, you're just getting on it. You're just starting to say it enough. And he stressed it. Michael stressed it. I think I can relate to that as like, man, you know what? You have to, call people to it. And by calling people, it means you have to share it. And as a leader, especially, I'm going to say this as maybe an introverted leader that doesn't want to talk too much, that doesn't want to share too much, that feels like, well, if I say it once, that was good enough. Your challenge is you got to talk a lot more. For someone who maybe likes to talk a lot, maybe the question is, not oversharing it and not beating people down so much, but exciting them in it and calling them to say, hey, remember why we're doing this? Okay, now let's go. Let's go do it. Okay. I'm going to open things up here. And I am going to, ask you guys to, share, raise your hand. I'm going to read back through some of the comments here as you guys are getting ready for that. And so thank you guys all for typing this in the chat. I mentioned Kathy, but I'll say it again. If you do it right, failure becomes growth. Absolutely. Veldine, I had a big aha when doing my vision last weekend. Thanks for the training, clarity. My pleasure. You're welcome. Joanne, clarity without inspiration leads to boredom and disinterest. Yeah, it's just kind of It's the ho-hum of life, right? Inspiration without clarity leads to excitement. With no direction, you need both. Kawhi, the way to achieve our goals is to hold them tightly and our strategies loosely. Yes, I loved that you said that. It's just kind of like, hey, where are you going to? However you get there, get there. Be patient. Focus on the what, not the how. Absolutely. Vision is about what the future looks like, not how you plan to get there. Kathy, when what is set, how can be changed and tweaked along the way? I think that's, to emphasize that one a little bit, is people they start spinning in circles when they don't have a vision. When they don't understand the what, and I think this is where, I missed this one. This was really good, but I just reminded of this and see if I can find it, is when people know their what, it's how they find their why. And so it's kind of, that's how it, something like that. It was in my notes. I know I wrote it. But that was good. Your worst day can be your best day if you know how to use it. That's great, Carrie. Stay committed to your decisions, but flexible in your approach, and learn the lesson about fitting in, fitting out. I think that would comment, and it's helping you realize your action, your vision. You might be wasting time, active, non-action. Okay. Who's got something else to share? I'd love to hear some feedback, maybe in, what you guys have discovered through this process, what has been kind of a learning moment, but also how you've shared this and what that's done so far for you guys. So raise your hand. I would love to hear it. Don't be shy. I know you want to, Taylor. Go ahead. No? Okay. Anyone? I mean, it's going to be a quick one today.
I'll go.
Yeah, go, Mary. Go, Kimberly.
Kathy invited us to this group, and it's been the perfect timing for me. I am a PhD candidate nurse, and I noticed through these chapters that I never really had a vision. I had a mission of whatever the next task was. So I just kept sort of going through the next task, and I have about a year left in school, and I had to apply for a scholarship about the time this started, and it asked for our plans. And this just blew me away at how I finally have sort of a vision of where I'm going and what my plan is professionally. And even with Isagenix and how that plays into it, it's just so important to know, to have a place in the future to focus on. And I feel like for years I've just done the next thing. So it's been really impressive, actually. I tell everybody about the book. I hold it up all the time.
There you go. Get it. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that was in one of my notes too. And it's, kind of, he talked about just doing the daily tasks, where if you get stuck in the daily task, you don't know why you're doing it. And then all of a sudden you realize, well, here I am 20 years later, and I just kind of did the next task and next task. And like, am I somewhere where I want to be? And I think, it's so funny. I'm 40, I'll be 41 this summer. And there's a lot of people in my life. And I was talking to a friend the other day. It's like, I'm going to do another 25 years of this. Like, why? And then there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I got to do another 25 years of this, because I'm just going to get up. And it's like living the movie Groundhog Day, but you don't realize you're living the movie Groundhog Day. And you just go on to that next task, as opposed to, stopping and thinking, what do I want my life to be like? Because I have the choice to do it. I just got to make the decision. And sometimes it's scary to make that decision without kind of like an idea, and you got to stop and think about it. So it's good. It's good. Who else has something to share? Go, Carrie.
I'll go ahead and say something, Tyler.
Yeah, Sherry.
All right. Well, this timing of this has been incredible, this group, because, a lot of these people don't know, I'm leading a dance school through this whole COVID-19. And I got clear on my vision pretty early. I don't know if I'm doing it right yet, because I haven't gotten to the chapter about formulating, which is not working on getting bigger, but getting better. And I had a Zoom meeting with my teachers, and I got everybody on board, and I blew everybody's black box up and said we have to do things completely different, smaller classes, staggered, and got kind of prepared for this whole phase 2, which we just went into 2 hours ago. And yet I'm still on this call because I'm like, okay, it's phase 2, and now I have even more leading to do. And so I really appreciate the timing of this group. And I mean, it is helping me in so many ways. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Carrie, I think I saw your hand up, so go for it.
Okay, I'll try to say this as concisely as possible. But one of the things that as I was listening, while bathing my children, that came through for me was just this idea of in the past have tried to control everything that's going to like the next step. Like I've understood why vision was so important. But now as I'm kind of taking this approach of putting the vision first and putting the vision top of mind, I realized that I was kind of blocking all of the things that like the magic, blocking, like letting the how kind of reveal itself and letting God or my higher power or whatever it is step in and really kind of bless the journey that I'm on. So I just thought it was really poignant to a great reminder of, okay, I don't need to know the next best step. Like I just need to have the courage to take it. As long as I know where I'm going, I'll be supported. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, because I think I think that's a great summary of these chapters where people get stalled out, right? People get stalled out in their vision because either, as you mentioned, Kimberly, it's just the next step. And so it's kind of like, well, here's what happens. And we didn't get into it. And it's like, you got to redo your vision. You got to redo it because you're going along those steps. And all of a sudden you're like, well, I had a vision at one point and I went along those steps and there were no train wrecks. And I'm like, well, just keep going. And you sometimes forget that, wherever you're going to kind of shifted. And so you kept going and now all of a sudden you're off course and you're like, how do we get there? Or Carrie, you're like, I'm so afraid to change and do it different because that might not work. And so all of a sudden your vision starts to alter because you're like, well, if I just do the same things that I did, maybe I'll get to the same place, but that isn't true. And I think that's where it gets a lot of people in trouble. A lot of us in trouble is that we try to hold on too tight and then we're like, well, we'll do it because that's what we hold to. And instead of just letting go and enjoying the process. And for me, I like the fun of every day being a new puzzle. Like I'm not a normal visionary. Like I'm not futuristic. I just can't pull stuff out of the air. I'm like, well, this is, that's just not me. But what I am built and I love to do is say, here's a situation. Now figure out all the ways to do it differently to improve, to strategize. I mean, I love that. And that fires me up and gets me really excited. And so that's where my vision a lot of times comes from, because it's seeing something that maybe isn't quite right. And it's like, oh, well, we could do it more efficient this way or something better. Or this is that call. And so I have fun getting out of that control. I mentioned about the soccer goal. That was fun to me. Like that may frustrate other people, but that was kind of like fun to figure out how to do it. I grew up on a farm. And I think a lot of it was honed there because it was like, you just got to figure it out. I can remember when I was like 8 years old and I had to make this like contraption to get a job done because I had no one to help me. So I'm using this like pulley system to figure it out. And I just had to figure it out because I had to get it done because there's no one to help me. And I think those ideas of losing that control of, well, it has to be this way, or we'll just go on to the next task, can't do that. And do it. That excites me, you guys sharing that and seeing that come together, because I get excited about it because there are things that I've had to learn. And so when I see others learn that, that's fun. So who else has something? Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, the biggest takeaway from this is I'm a very systematic planner, want to put everything in order kind of person. So I I finally had a big breakthrough like about 3 weeks ago to just like throw my systems out of the door and let things just happen. And this just definitely like reinforced that, because focusing on the big vision and just letting things get a little messy, my systems will come in when it's needed. I'll figure out the how when it comes. And I think what was like stopping me, because I was doing that circle, like you were saying, like when you focus too much on the how, you start going in a circle and you just stop doing everything. Mm-hmm. What really helped me focus was just going, what really scared me was going, oh man, what if I fail? What if everything gets really bad and I get overwhelmed? And it didn't. So that was a big like aha moment for me, was going, oh, it really didn't get messy when I threw out my systems, when I just let it go and just focus on getting past that, and everything kind of fell in place. So that's what I loved about these 2 chapters, was that it reinforced that for me.
Oh, that's great. It makes me, does anybody have any military experience or anyone in their family in the military? Okay. One of the things that I've learned from a lot of military training is you regress to your highest level of training. So in other words, if you're, in your combat situation, whatever, and everything blocks out, and then all of a sudden Rita, exactly, Rob, is, whatever your highest competency and training is, that's what you inherently is framed in your mind. And so sometimes when you get into those stressful situations, you end up reverting back to just what you can do. And so what I think is great is I heard you mention, I think is awesome, is you have that system, that thing, that ideology, you have the vision. And then all of a sudden, if you kind of like, you can step into a combat situation, I never in the military, but I can appreciate it, sports. Okay. And you go into a situation, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I've been trained to know how to deal with different circumstances. And so I can fall in that training, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be. I'm not going to walk into a sports field and know that every single thing is going to be exact, but I've been trained in so many situations that I can react to it. And that's what I heard there, is understanding that, to where, I can have a system, I can have that training, and I can fall back on it, but I may get into a situation where it doesn't apply. So I got to do what's next best and follow that, and realizing there's comfort there. Because that's what I heard from you, is you're realizing there's comfort there, that I know how to do. I have the training, but I don't have to be so regimented where it takes out my viewpoint of what the possibility may be to do it different, if that's what applies. So that's what I heard that you learned, and I think that's awesome. Okay. Who else has something to share? Yeah, Kathy, go.
Okay, I have 2 quick things. One is what I'm taking away from the book and this session, this study, which I'm loving, is that as a new leader, I fixed on my goal very early. I knew exactly where my long-term vision was, but I didn't know how to connect that with my day-to-day. And I could follow what other leaders who had reached that goal were doing, but I was trying to implement their day-to-day and love my customers, do the best service that I could do. But then I realized when I read this, I've been doing this and realizing it's been reading, but the illustration about the rock climbing really had a lot of impact on me. And the fact that they knew the goal and they rappelled from the top down, and they were finding ways to connect steps, and that I need to be more diligent in finding what works for me and adjusting how I can make my steps along the same path as people before me, but make it more personal, more effective for my people and my community and my team. And then that goes in with the other point. It's in chapter 6, I believe, or the second chapter, about the diversity being so important on a team. And that it's easy to work with people and lead people that are like you, but we're going to have a stronger team and be more successful as a team if we have different strengths and abilities. And that means, as a leader, I've got to learn how to relate to a lot of different people so I can help them reach their goals. So that's kind of where I am in this.
Good. I love it. Yeah. It's diversity is good. And I think and I mentioned earlier is the values are the basis. And if people have different values, it's really hard. But, you know, if you have the same values, diversity is exceptional because that's how we all get better and, you know, fill those kind of different talent spots. And that's something my mentors have really impressed upon me, which I inherently love because I look at everything in a lot of ways as a sports analogy. And if everyone played the same position, you know, if you had a basketball team and everyone was 7 foot tall and they couldn't dribble a ball, you'd have a really hard time scoring. At the same point, if it was a football team and everyone's 5'10" and really, really fast, you wouldn't do very well either. And there's a reason why everyone and every one of us has different skill sets. And if we can, as a team, figure out how to maximize them, it's fun for everyone. And I think that's a challenge as a leader is, and to me, I enjoy that challenge, but it takes something you got to grow into and you got to recognize it, which I think you are. And that's awesome. It's good. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Who else has got something? Don't feel you have to, but if you have something you want to share, I'd love to hear it. I think everyone else would too. All right. Well, no worries. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate all the commentary. I appreciate everything. And I hope you guys are getting value out of this. I'm doing this to, you know, again, selfishly learn for myself a little bit deeper, but I really do want to add value to you guys, bring something to you guys that maybe it's a little bit deeper, a little different twist, and you guys challenge you guys to learn a little bit more as I'm learning more. And so thank you guys for being here. And until next week, all right, have a great Memorial Day weekend, whatever your state is allowing. Okay. And whatever you choose to do. Okay. Mahalo to all of my Hawaiian friends. Thank you for joining early in the morning. Bye guys. Have a great day.